Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Mirna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. As we head into fall, I invite you to shop at quince.com for your fall wardrobe update. Quince offers timeless and high-quality fall clothing I adore. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/Myrna for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair is Hector Quiroga, immigration attorney. And today, Hector and I are going to be talking on the topic, understanding the key elements of current U.S. immigration policy. Hey, immigration is big. You know, I immigrated from Guyana to Canada and then from Canada to the U.S. So at one point in time, I had to go through a lot of immigration issues in order to become a citizen and first, get my green card. So I feel for the people that are living in this country undocumented. So we're going to share some information, how to get here, if you're here, what you should do, that kind of thing. So it's a big topic. So welcome, Hector.
Thank you to you and your audience for having your podcast. Very successful. Love to be here. See if I can share some insights and inspire some of you to just take that step.
Yes, exactly. Yes, excellent. Great. So, all right, guys. So let me give you guys a brief introduction. Hector Quiroga is an immigration attorney and CEO of Quiroga Law Firm, PLLC. He has dedicated much of his life to helping thousands of undocumented families improve their quality of life. Hector immigrated from Colombia to the United States in January 2000. And since then, he has worked hard to fulfill his goals and impact many people's lives. Hector's work has transformed the lives of thousands of undocumented families, improving their quality of life and offering them a chance at stability. His dedication to the immigration community is palpable, and his stories of triumph, hope, and resilience offer a unique perspective that ends beyond just the legalities of immigration. All right, so listen, let's dive right in. All right, so we all see the stories of, or the videos or the media, showing people walking over the border. And I look at those and when I see that, because it's usually men, I'm seeing men that will do anything to have a better life because they're coming here to work. So my heart goes out to them, but obviously that's not the proper way. So let's start off by talking about the legal ways to enter the United States.
Right. All right. So currently, Maria, and immigration lawyers, at least in my firm, we try to look at it from different perspectives. So you got Title 8 of the laws. Title 8 is the immigration laws, and you got different chapters, right? And so it's just like a book. So you got the family chapter. So family laws. So typically it's about somebody has to petition for you, and they got a very interesting concept, which is it an immediate relative or is it a non-immediate relative? So it's weird because especially from different cultures of the world, the concept of family, right? We got Latinos, or concept of family is like, second cousins are family, right? Like we got many families, right? Well, now it turns out that immediate relatives are really just kind of like your parents, your children, if they are under 21. If they're over 21, they're not really your immediate, as to the parent. So it's really odd, right? And then your siblings at some point, and then that ends really fast. Your siblings aren't even. You petition a sibling, it takes many years for you to be able to help your sibling. So it's very odd. So there's very much defined who an immediate relative is. And so if you have somebody who's immediate relative, and typically it's a spouse, you go through a husband, wife, they are citizens, that's a family case. Now your spouse is bringing you in. So we got family cases, and they're subject to different rules. Like if you're admissible, if you got entries and exits, if you already stay a visa or you came into the country a certain way, there are certain rules there that may disqualify you, and there are some waivers and things like that to help you get through. So that's family. And the other chapter that we have is employment, right? So you got employment, business, and like investment. Let's call it that. So you got if an employer competition for you, then you may be able to get an employment visa, and depending on which visa you got, after a period of time, you maybe apply for a green card. So that's a completely different thing. It has completely different rules. They have some similar rules regarding inadmissibility as the family chapter, but that's that. And then we have things like, for example, you have investments. So some people, if you can invest more than a certain amount of money, in some cases it's $500,000 or $1 million that you can actually show cash that you're going to invest. People think about it's like you're buying your visa kind of thing. You invest in the country and create some employment of, depending on what you are, if it's 500,000, it's like 5 employees. If it's $1 million, it's like 10 employees. And again, it depends on the areas and things like that. You could also get your access there. Now, there's got to be new investment into the country. There's got to be, you have to show that is good money. It's not money that you got through ill means or illegal activities or anything like that. So there's a piece there. So we got that as a kind of like employment investment type of stuff. The other chapter is we like to talk about humanitarian processes. Humanitarian processes are things like the U visa. If you're a victim of a crime, domestic violence being one of them, you may qualify for a U visa, and the U visa can get you to actual adjustment status. It can give you to a green card. So the U visa is very powerful, but it takes forever. It takes a very long time to get. It takes 5 years plus to get. You have to show your good moral character within this. And it's got some special provisions that we like a lot. For example, like there are certain things that the other processes will not waive or will not allow you to get through, but a U visa could. So that sometimes it's preferable to have something like that. Obviously, it requires a qualifying crime and that type of stuff. This process is like VAWA. So VAWA is Violence Against Women Act. This act of the law allows for certain women to get some sort of help. And I say certain women because they had to be, okay, so it says women, but it later defines that women or men. So men can also be protected under VAWA. But in this case, you have to be, is battery, so there is an actual physical contact or extreme cruelty. And cruelty, we like to talk about abuse more than anything else. And some abuse can be pretty cruel, some not necessarily. So we just have to look at that. But if you feed that, then you could get a work permit, and then you can later adjust status through VAWA. The main thing here is the abuser, there has to be a family relationship, which is defined by blood, right? So we're related by blood, and then you're kind of like an immediate relative kind of thing. Other relatives could apply, but that's kind of it. And by marriage, right? So there's got to be a marital relationship, and the abuser has to also be a United States citizen. So we've done a lot of VAWAs with children. They're not kids, they're children. So there are over 21 United States citizens that are not so kind and they're kind of cruel to their parents. A VAWA case could potentially be created under those circumstances if all the facts fall through. So that's VAWA. Now we have other humanitarian cases like, the better way you put it, you got like something like parole in place. Those are cases that where you got somebody on the military and humanitarianly the government said, look, because you have a humanitarian basis, this type of thing that's we're going to allow them to be here because of we don't want somebody fighting for us on the armed forces, and then they're worried, oh, mom getting deported back on the States, so we're going to do something here for them. So that was that. So there's parole in place that does that. Like you could talk about DACA, and DACA kind of falls through these, right? It was kind of like, all right, they don't have family, they don't have an employer, they don't have this, they don't have that. Well, that's an executive action that was done by President Obama to allow this in, and so you have those. So that's kind of like that. Now, we do have some asylums, and asylums are funny because we got two kinds of asylums. One is the affirmative asylum, which would fit under this book, this chapter of this book. And it is when somebody comes into the U.S. and they like are here, they come in a visa, and then they take some time to collect evidence, to maybe consult with a lawyer, figure out the system, and they apply. You have 1 year from the day that you enter the U.S., whether you did it with a visa or not, to apply for asylum. So you got that time. Now the application, if you send it in, that we call that an affirmative application. So you affirmatively, you're saying, help me. If I go back, not good stuff's going to happen to me. That's affirmative asylum. Now, the next chapter, we like to call it defense or just court, right? So you go to court, and a judge, under the federal laws, could give you a green card. And so there are judges who could, we have certain defenses. We have like what we call withholding or removal. We have CAT, which is Convention Against Torture. We have, if you have an adjustment in that you marry a United States citizen and turn out, you may be able to adjust in front of the judge. There's a plethora of different things. But turns out that asylum is also a defense to deportation. So it's under the defensive. And so that's kind of overall what we have right now. I'm sure there's a few that weird ways. Oh, I'm a diplomat. What is that? Well, okay. There's not that many diplomats, right? But there's a few other ways that we can go to. But those are kind of like at least how I like to teach it in law school. In the law schools, I taught at how I would like to break it down for my students, and then how I was a little better understood for me and my firm and the attorneys that work with our office. That it just makes more sense. So yes, that's kind of an overall overview of the current. Yeah,
I'm glad I started off with that question because I knew about 3 of what you mentioned, and I didn't know all the others. Now, when I came in it's funny, we came in at the same time, January 2000 from Canada.
Right.
I came in on something that is called a free trade agreement because I had a business in Canada and I wanted to bring my business here. Is that still viable? Is that still available?
NAFTA still available. It's harder, right? Again, it's got more of the investment type of thing. You're going to come into treat employment. And so we put it through that employment investment type of thing. Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. So that's good. All right. So that was great. So let's circle back to the family part, which is the one you start with. You said that immediate family is children under 21, but I was understood that if your child is not married, then you can sponsor them at any age if they're not married. Is that true?
Okay, so let's clarify the language just a little bit. Okay, so there is petitioners who can petition, and then there is sponsors, and those are two different concepts, right? So somebody may petition, and by petitioning somebody, you're an automatic sponsor. But if you cannot sponsor, you might be able to get another sponsor to do it. And so it just becomes like a triangulation. Now, a sponsor could be any lawful permanent resident of the United States or any citizen. And in most cases, they don't have to be related to you. So it could be a friend. So my son might petition for me, but he doesn't make any income. Right. So then, because he's not working, so I could get somebody, a friend, to sponsor. His friend could sponsor me in. So let's just separate that, right? So I think you were meaning petitioner who can petition. So the immediate family can petition. It's just whether you are an immediate relative, which means it's faster. Let me put it that way. A spouse, for example, is faster. It's supposed to be immediate, but immediate in immigration anymore means like 8 months to a year. That's immediate, right? And there are the non-immediates, which would be like, say, your brother. Your brother is a United States citizen. They want to petition for you. We got to look at the visa bulletin. And in some cases, for example, the case of Mexico, right? You're looking at a 22-year wait. So it's crazy. This is why we need reform, right? Because the system doesn't...
Trying to my brother, it was 10 years. It's now 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you say you're wrong, Hannah. It's a different. It's probably not as bad as Mexico, but it's probably a good 11, 12 years. We can look at the visa bulletin and we would say it's just a long time. So, and it's getting worse too, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. So what you answered, I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. So you can petition or sponsor your kid over 21. if they are not married. Is that correct?
They are so okay. So think of this like a river. I like to think going up the river or down the river. A child, my mom will always be my mama. My mom will always be my mama, right? That's a mom will always be mom. So I'm a citizen over 21. I can always petition my mom because I'm always only mama's boy.
Okay.
But from mama's perspective, I stop being a child. When do I stop being a child? At the age of 21, or if I get married. If I decide to say, Mom, I'm leaving, I'm gonna make my own life, I'm gonna get my own life. The law in the US says you're not a child anymore. You're a man. You're acting like a man. You're a man, right? So here's what happens. You don't. So it's really interesting. So if you petition for an unmarried child under 21, we're talking about even your relative. But if he reaches 21 or he gets married, now we're talking about a 10, 15-year wait. So
wow.
it's a very different. So it just depends the relationship how we look at it.
It just takes longer. Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
I got you. Wow. One of my favorite memories as a kid was going camping. It began my love of nature and trees. As a mom, I want to share with my kids everything I loved about summertime and nature growing up. The parks, beaches, and camping trips. But when all these heat waves, wildfires, and storms, unnatural extreme weather events caused by fossil fuel pollution, the places we loved as kids are being threatened. The Science Moms are a nonpartisan group of scientists who are, like many of you, moms. Whether it's understanding the real cause of extreme weather or simply talking about it with friends and family, the Science Moms want you to know that a better future for our kids is possible. Human-made problems require human-made solutions, and no one is more equipped and motivated to lead the charge than our nation's millions of moms. Science shows us pollution is causing unnatural disasters that are making our world more dangerous. That's why I'm joining the millions of moms who are taking action to protect all we love. Join us at sciencemoms.com. As we're heading to fall, I need to change my wardrobe from bright colors to fall colors. Luckily for me, Quince offered timeless and high-quality fall clothing I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and seasonal. Like the gray cashmere tee I just purchased for $49, 50% off the regular price, or the black organic cotton maxi dress for just $69. All of Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I love that. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/Myrna for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/MYRNA to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Myrna. What if you could take a weekly shot to lose weight and keep it off? If you've heard of Ozempic or Wegovy, you've probably heard three things. They're effective, but they're expensive, and they're hard to get. That's where Ro comes in. Through Ro, you can access prescription compounded GLP-1s with the same weight loss ingredients as brand name GLP-1s at a fraction of the cost. Ro has compounded GLP-1s in stock right now. You can get it in 1 to 4 days if you qualify. Ro members have support throughout the process. If eligible for medication, patients have access to their provider on demand for any questions.
You can see if you qualify from the comfort of your own home. This means no schedule a doctor's appointment, no commute to the doctor's office, and no waiting rooms. Go right now to ro.co/transform. Membership starts at just $99 for your first month. Medication costs are separate. That's ro.co/transform. Please note, go to ro.co/safety for black box warnings and full safety information. Compounded medication is not required to and does not receive FDA review or approval. RX only.
Okay, so you mentioned about the asylum, which is one of the questions I had here. You covered it already, which is you come in within a year and you apply for asylum based on what the country has in place for asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it works? It has to be a law in place already?
It has to be that in place already, correct.
Okay, right, all right. So what are the countries that we're doing asylum with now? I know we're not doing it anymore I don't think we're doing it anymore with Cuba or Haiti. Is that correct?
That's technically incorrect. And so if you look at the book, the law says anybody who's seeking asylum can do so. It does not discriminate on the basis of country or origin, right? So and I experience this a lot in the Latino communities. A lot of people say like, well, you can't, if you're from Mexico, you can't do asylum. That's not true. Okay. What happens is like, we don't have the fact patterns become very similar. So somebody, let's say from Mexico, and they come in and say, oh, there's drug cartels, there's this, there is that. What happens, the judges and the adjudicators, they get very jaded with the same claim every time. And they're kind of like, goes another one. They get very jaded, right? And so they're like, and if the evidence is weak or anything like that, they tend to deny it more for certain areas. And so this is kind of what I experience. And so, and also, again, from a diversity standpoint of view, the judges and a great majority of judges, they're Anglo, they're white, they don't, this is kind of like, why, I mean, why didn't you call 911? Because 911 doesn't exist in Ghana. We don't have that. What are you talking about, right? Like,
yeah, that's right. Right.
So culturally and geographically, we just have such a big difference, and so it's difficult sometimes to get that right. Or we have a, I'm sure that if I go to Ghana, that'll be a great place because I'm going to the touristy places. I'm going to the places that are safe. If you go to Mexico, you to Cancun, have a great time. And then seeing the judge went to Cancun and had a great time. He comes back because I don't understand.
See what's the problem?
I don't see a problem. And so we got these issues in immigration court. But but if you go to the bad spot, right? It's a bad spot. And there's bad spots in the US too, by the way. I'm just saying that. And so that's our challenge as immigration lawyers sometimes is to be able to get through the mindset issues that we know we're sitting there without making somebody feel, lawyers and lawyers, and judges, we can be very egotistical. So it's difficult sometimes to get these things through. And this makes these cases very, very difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what you're saying is that anyone can apply for asylum if they have reason to not to want to go back to their country. So it's not that the asylum, that the governments of these countries have to make some kind of arrangements. Or I think I remember the wet foot, dry foot. If someone from Cuba or Haiti, got to the United States, then they were immediately given asylum because of that, whatever the government put in place. So that's really what my knowledge was. But you're saying that anyone that, let's say that if they go back, they might be hurt or abused or whatever. Just clarifying. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So asylum. So asylum, this is another issue where the cases get lost a lot. So there's under the figure of asylum, I like to talk about there's three, four kinds. There's political asylum. So you have to show two things. You have to show evidence that you or your family are going to be harmed or killed because of your political views, and you're speaking against some political basis. And so what happens, a lot of individuals come into the country with the evidence that they're going to be harmed, there was some bomb, terrorist attack, something, but they fail to show the connection politically. Like, yeah, but were you a mayor, a council member? Were you in the news and you were like maybe speaking against, some sort of thing? So that's the issue. Now, the second one I like to talk about is religious. This one is a little bit easier, which is like, I'm being prosecuted because I'm Christian, or I'm a Catholic, or I'm a Muslim, so because of your religious beliefs, you are a target. And again, you have to show that connection. The next one I like to talk about is I call it cultural, but in the law we talk about a particular social group. That's the keyword. What is cultural? In other words, if you belong to a group and you're a target because you're part of that group. So, for example, we've done a few cases with Maasai women, right? Because there is female mutilation that happens of the genitalia of women in this area. So the United States has recognized that as a particular social group who could seek asylum to do that. Now, that's an example. Sexual orientation. There's a country that a person comes in where the homophobia is so high. This person is homosexual. This person is going to be attacked and killed. But we have to establish the particular social group, and then because of that reason, it's not because you're rich. If you're rich and you get kidnapped because you got money, that doesn't qualify you for asylum. Drug cartel or drug trade, that's in the US see that as a common thing. So yeah.
All right. So good. So I'm glad that I asked the question, because a lot of people don't understand what that means. So thank you for going through that. All right. So let's say you're here, you're undocumented. You came across the border, came with a visa, and you stayed past your time, and you're undocumented. Do you have any rights? And if you have rights, what are they?
So we the people means we the people. It doesn't mean only citizens or not. You have constitutional rights like everybody else. And this is something that you just need to know. You have a right to a lawyer. You have a right to remain silent. You do have rights. I think it's something that I'm trying to combat, which is that we have no rights. We have rights. Now they're lesser to a degree, right? They're lesser to a degree, but we still have rights. And so let's enforce them. Let's make them valid, right? People think if they're deported, they lose all their property. Oh, I was here and I lost my house and my car and my wages. For example, somebody gets deported in the middle of a payroll period. No, you're still owed for the hours that you did work up to the point. So an efficient lawyer, an effective lawyer should be able to say, look, how's the family? What is the situation? You can't. But I think we live in so much fear of, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose everything I work for, So yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Now, another question that I know of is that, they go for, skilled workers come over here. You didn't mention that in some of the legal ways to enter in the U.S. But skilled workers, I'm in Florida, and there is a big population of agricultural workers that come in. Can you talk about that? If someone is listening right now from Mexico or Colombia or whatever, and they want to come here as a skilled worker, how do they go about that?
Mm-hmm. So if you're a skilled worker, you can, in employment worlds, happens like the family world, right? You have to have a petitioner. It's kind of like the same thing in the employment world. You gotta have an employer petition for you. Hey, and so the employer has to go through a process. The employer has to say, look, because, there's laws that want to protect the U.S., the local markets, the local employment market. We want to say, okay, I need somebody who works in jewelry, a jeweler. I need a jeweler. So I'm gonna hire a jeweler. I went into the local market. I own a jewelry store to see if I can find a jeweler, right? And the jeweler, right? It's just not here. So the employer has to show that they try to interview, they try to get this labor here in the U.S. They didn't. So if they don't, then they have to do what is called, we got to figure out the wage directives. We had to know, okay, how much would I have to pay? If the person was here, how much would a jeweler make? The jeweler would make X amount of dollars. Let's call it 80,000. I'm just going to throw a number out there. You got to make $80,000 as a jeweler because you got all of these stone-looking abilities that we don't see in the naked eye. You got that. So you got 8,000. Also, it's 80,000. So you say, okay, if you're going to petition somebody outside the U.S. and you want it to be a jeweler, you have to pay them $80,000. What they don't want is they don't want to say, oh, I'm not going to hire the person here because I know if I get somebody from another country, I can pay them 50. I can pay less. So what they want is to make sure that person's going to come in is going to make the fair wage for that position here. If you get through all of that, then you get to petition for the person. So this creates a problem, and that is the jeweler is like, who's going to, I don't know anybody over there, right? And so it happens a lot, and that's happening a lot through school, right? Like you go through an internship program, and in the internship program, you get to know the people at work, and they might say, oh, we want to work with you, and they do that. But it's a tedious, long process, right? That happens, and that's kind of how it goes, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Do you schedule time for self-care? Or is it something you do when you have time for it? Is it a non-negotiable? Self-care for me is a non-negotiable. My self-care routine includes morning walks in nature or time at the gym. But sometimes our schedules are packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more. It's easy to let our priorities like self-care slip. Making time for therapy is a form of self-care. But even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. When you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma, etc. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/TYM today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/TYM. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Usually, improvements don't come overnight, but once in a while, one small fix can catapult you to the next level. If your commerce platform is holding your business back, you owe it to yourself to see what Shopify can do for you. Whether you're a garage entrepreneur or IPO ready, Shopify is the only tool you need to start, run, and grow your business without the struggle. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. So whether you're selling satin sheets from Shopify's in-person POS system or offering organic olive oil on Shopify's all-in-one e-commerce platform, you're covered. And once you've reached your audience, Shopify has the internet's best converting checkout to help you turn them from browsers to buyers. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/transform to take your business to the next level today.
But I was thinking most of how they get these unskilled workers. I should have said unskilled. Mm-hmm. Unskilled workers to come and farm and do things, and they've got like truckloads of them. That's what I was talking about. What's the difference there?
So unskilled workers, so same issue, right? But typically you got a farm, you got a packing plant and you want to bring seasonal workers. So, and there are companies that go, all right, so we need some unskilled work. There is the numbers and there's some fees and things like that. And then typically they do. But again, the packing plant is the one who has to petition. So there are a little bit of businesses out there that can get to it. And then what happens is once you brought somebody, and typically it's for a season,
Right.
seasons they vary, but it could be 8 months or it could be, it depends on the season. Then you go back and then they come back in another 8 months and they keep doing that. And so once they know you, they sort of kind of start circling through. There's no limit really, unless the employer didn't like your work or something like that. And we had some
Okay.
something like that.
Do you get a visa for that? Is that how that works?
Yes. You get visas. Those are the H visas. There's the H visas, and you come in a visa. And so then we got the concept of what we call immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas, right? That's just kind of interesting, I think. So an immigrant visa is when you come to stay. You're going to come and then you're going to stay. So for example, a spousal visa, you're immigrating with your spouse, that's an immigrant visa. There's a non-immigrant visas, for example, like tourists. You're going to go in and then you're going to return. I'm a non-immigrant. I'm just coming in and out. So this is interesting because the immigrant visas, we have a lot more rights. I can be a lot more aggressive as a lawyer because I can say, look, this person has a right to be here, to go with a spouse, pursue happiness, whatever. When it's a tourist visa, it's like you're inviting me to your house and you say, you know what, Hector, I don't feel so well today. I don't feel so well today. Why don't you just come some other day? Can I get upset? Sure, can I get upset, but I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how the law sees. And I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at it from that perspective. You say, look, or you can say, look, hey, listen, it's 9 p.m., dinner is over, you and your wife need to just leave, right? That you would do it very kindly, but you get the point. You have, as a host, you have the right to stop somebody's welcome in your home. It's the same thing with immigration law when it comes to this. And so, but it gets a little tricky because there's some things they call an non-immigrant visa. It's funny. For example, a fiancé visa. Let's just talk about a fiancé visa. So, fiancé visa, you come in and you're going to marry somebody, and you're going to you're gonna marry someone. So you have 90 days to check out the person, and then the marriage must happen within 90 days that you came to the U.S. You got 90 days to effectuate the marriage, and then you can adjust status by filing the rest. So it's interesting because you are kind of coming with the intention to marry and stay here. So you think that I'm kind of immigrating. The government kind of sees it the other way around. They kind of like, you're having the intention to check out whether or not this is going to work out, and it's probably not going to work out, so you're going to go back. And so it's not non-immigrant, right? But you don't know, right? And so it's interesting, right? Like the way that they put it in, like, oh, okay, well, I guess I see the point there, but so is the person coming or not coming? So there are different things that are we call little tricky things like that we have to navigate to figure out what kind of visa is this and how can we enforce our rights there. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. All right. So my next question is one that I have here that is a personal question. My son is 40 and he's deliberately not gotten married because he wants to come to the United States. But the reason he hasn't come yet is because when he was younger, 16 or so, he got in trouble with the law. And he's supposed to get a waiver, and we haven't really done it. And you mentioned something about waivers earlier. So talk to me about something like that. How do we go about getting, petitioning or sponsoring that family member, immediate family member? He's my son.
So, right. So when a person has, so there's what we call grounds of inadmissibility, right? So there's certain things that would make you inadmissible to get a visa exemption. So there's grounds of inadmissibility. So the grounds of inadmissibility would be something like the person overstayed. So they overstayed the visa for more than 180 days. That ground of inadmissibility, we have a waiver that we can apply for if the person has parents or spouses that are local permanent residents or citizens. So the waiver piece is interesting because most waivers, well, a lot of waivers, we like to take this like I like to do all forgiveness. It's like, hey, well, okay, yeah, right. So I sort of messed up. Would you please forgive me? Would you please forgive me? The funny thing is that you are not forgiving the immigrant. Some of them were forgiving the family. It's an odd concept. So it's like, okay, mama is here. Mama needs you. Mama has all of these needs. Mama has these medical conditions. Mama has this educational, cultural, financial situation. And we need you to be with mama because mama's here. So because of this, we're gonna forgive mama. We're gonna forgive you because of mama. We're not gonna forgive you because of you. And so what a lot of waivers get, and yeah, they kind of get a lot of lawyers and practitioners make this mistake, right? Because when you put them like that, right, they focus on the person. Oh, he's a great person. He has overcome all of the stuff. He's proving himself. He has a job, and they focus so much on the individual, they forget about mama. And so when the government gets it, they go, "Good for him. Go to your country and do that." Right? They don't really care. So you got to be careful how you pitch these cases. And so that's what's going on there. So some of them are self, right? Like Bagua, for example, has a waiver, and it's like if a woman is abused and she had some issues, and especially when there is the cycle of abuse and things like that. If you look at those dynamics, sometimes there is problems with substance abuse, or somebody very depressed, and precisely because they're in a horrible situation, perhaps alcohol, things like that make them make some mistakes. There are some waivers there that are for the person's conduct and not necessarily what happened. So there is exceptions to what I'm telling you in different areas, but really this is kind of how it's working. So
okay, that's great. I love this. I love my questions. All right.
Yes.
So where can do you want to say anything more about the DACA situation?
All right, so DACA, yes. So DACA, like I say, I like to take it as a humanitarian process. And so one of the things that happened with DACA is an executive action. This is an executive order. The President Obama said, boom. And in the 12th year anniversary of DACA, President Biden said, boom, another executive order is just going to be very good. The issue is that it's not law technically. This is something that can change. It's not in the books like Bagua, Violence Against Women Act. It's an act of the law. Congress passed it. President signed it. It's a law. In this case, we don't have that. We have an executive order that could be changed by the next executive, right? So the next president can change it. Now we know that with President Trump, he tried to change DACA, tried to strike it down. And we've been savvy enough to try to block him everywhere we can in litigation to try to just stop it. But it's not the best place to be at, simply because they do have a lot of power, and it's a power. If one is able to sign it, so there is that. So we've been able to do that, and this is the same thing that is happening now. So what's happening now is that we just have June 18, this came out, and it said, look, anyone who's been in the country for more than 10 years, so you gotta prove that you've been in the U.S. for 10 years. You have to prove that you're married to a United States citizen. So marriage and United States citizen does count, and you have a good moral character. You no longer have to leave the country and come back. You don't really have to apply for a special waiver. We can go through this process if you qualify. So you have to be married as June 17. 2024. That would have been the day before the lake comes. And he did that, so not everybody just rushed to get married. He was just like, basically, this is kind of retroactive in that way. So they did that, right? And so, but it's an executive order, right? And so it was very much timely for election. There's no question about that. Just like it happened to President Obama. President Obama spent a lot of his political power, in my opinion, on Obamacare. Obamacare was a huge fight. All the healthcare regulation that was fought, and I think he burned a lot of bridges to get that legislation through because he had to. And then when he got into do immigration, nobody was gonna follow that leadership at that point. Everybody was just, and so as a last ditch effort, he signed DACA on the eve and says, "Look, I've said I would help immigrants." So it's kind of like the same thing here, because President Biden tried to pass a couple of reforms. and he couldn't. And truth be told, to his credit, the reforms actually were not as kind as this executive action. This executive action actually, see, the reform, I was not a proponent of it. I was very outspoken about this on the media. I said, look, it was not about enforcement. It was about detaining individuals, expanding our detention center capacity, expanding, judges out, and that was it, right? It was not about opening a path. And so this does open a path. Listen, if I parole you in, you can file for adjustment here in the U.S. to spouses of United States citizens. This is good. This is really good. And it's individuals who are not otherwise inadmissible or don't have like big criminal issues, which is good. I mean, I think we all can, with a straight face, we all want the U.S. to thrive. We all want it to be a great place to live. This actually would help. So even though I've been critical, I do think that, hey, maybe he actually did have the political power and the support of Congress, and he might have been able to do something big. This is what he's tried to do, and it's going to be rocky litigation ahead just to see if we can make this stick.
Yeah. All right. So what I don't understand from what I thought of a DACA was children of undocumented immigrants, but they were born here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that is? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So DACA,
what I don't understand is what is the issue? Because if you're born here, you're a citizen. Why do we have to have legislation on that?
Right. If you're a United States citizen, you're born here. But if you're married to a United States citizen, you might have been born in another country, and the problem is your spouse. So you marry somebody from Ghana. You're a citizen. You told us you're a citizen. You marry somebody from Ghana. You want your spouse to live with you, and we're like, nah, sorry, you gotta wait 10 years. So now it's about helping that person come with you. It's,
okay.
You,
all right. Okay.
You fucking won. This is you're a citizen.
All right, I got it. Because I thought they were talking about the undocumented children that were born here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that if you're born here, you're not undocumented. You're an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Now you mentioned a book, but I don't have any information here on your book. You have an immigration book, or you just about the law book?
No, so this book is an empowerment book. It's an autobiography book. I came in 2000. I was an immigrant, and I didn't speak English. I'm native from Colombia. I'm a Colombian, a citizen by birth, and then through the process became later a lawful permanent resident and then a citizen in the U.S. Paid myself through college and law school and opened a law firm. So it says when immigrants, says prove them wrong is the name of the book. And it's when immigrants' 10-year journey from bankrupt to millionaire. And so we've been able to now, we have 7 offices open in different parts, 1 in Mexico, and we had 1 in Nevada and Las Vegas, and we got 5 in Washington State. And we have helped over 15,000 clients get through this, being very successful. And so one of the things that I learned through this process was that, we want to do great in the country, and we got to find the ways. And it was difficult to do it with a lot of emotional trauma. And so you went through a process of discovery where I didn't know this trauma existed. I didn't know that this was there. If you see the cover of the book, there is somebody climbing towards a flag, and the person has a backpack. And it's like when you have weight on your back, right, and you're climbing, it gets so heavy in a way that you get used to it, and it gets to the point where sometimes you don't even see it. And the funny part is, we all see the backpack, but you don't see it. And you turn around, I don't know what backpack we're talking about. You get so used to it. And so we just forget about it. And what happens is we just come to this conclusion, we just don't have emotional, which is kind of like, that's been dealt with, right? And I don't know in your culture, but, from Ghana, but from a Latino, Hispanic culture, things are, I come from a somewhat macho dominant society. So one of the things I had to go through self-discovery to be able to just really be able to ascend success. And then I figured out that I had to look inside. And so in working inside, I talk about the process. And, there was something that had happened to me. I was sexually abused as a child, as a boy, by a male family, distant family worker of my family that works in. And I got through this process, and I talk about the story of sexual abuse and how difficult it was to talk about this in the beginning, and how difficult it was to talk about sexual abuse, especially when it happens to a man. So a man to a man, especially coming from a society that is very much, male, macho dominant, and how those things were so entertaining. And so I was bankrupt, as the book says, because I had so many self-esteem issues that I had to work through to really find my voice and find my value, right? And so we hear all the time, you do you find your value. But if you don't go deep down and look at what is it that really is trying to just hold you, and I'm learning some beautiful things. And now working with BAGWA cases, domestic violence issues, I start realizing a lot of things. And that is, I kind of go through this process, and that is like how these things become insidious in your life, how these things is, you just don't see it. And so when I work with clients, I see things as this individual, for example, who have a really hard time delegating, right? So would you have a hard time somebody checking your email and going over your email and help you with your email? A lot of people go, not my email, not my email, not my text, that's personal. What do you mean? And so it's really funny because as a lawyer, for example, I have paralegals, legal assistant, file clerks that help me. And so when the mail comes, they open it, they read it, they put it on the thing, and they give it to me. How come I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with your flight confirmation is here and needs to be put on the calendar? No, I do that myself. No, I don't want no help. Then I start realizing I have trust issues, right? And I'm not saying you have to give the keys to the kingdom to everybody, but why is it that sometimes we have such a hard time asking for help and trusting, right? It's because that trust was violated at some point or another as we were growing, typically as children. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, sexual abuse or anything like that. What I'm learning is that I had so a lot of individuals say, well, I didn't have that, so I don't have the problems. Like, gosh, you could have emotional abuse. You could have abandonment. How many people talk to me and say, look, my parents provided for me. I mean, I had a roof and I had food, but they very rarely told me they loved me. They were really rough. If I didn't do good in school, they would, I had a lot of that. A lot of individuals who they are devastated if they don't get an A, 4.0, whatever the highest grade might be.
Yes.
Because they were taught as kids that they were just going to be just completely berated because they didn't do so well and they had to excel at everything, and I love parents, and it's not to blame it on them. I know our parents, they tried the best they could and they wanted the best for us, but they too probably come from a very abusive relationship, comes down the lines. And so I'm trying to see that and going, gosh. So the book is a great story on success, self-discovery, immigration, finding yourself, finding your voice. Is in Amazon, prove them wrong. And it's not very long because I didn't want to bore everybody with my life, but I just wanted to be like, hey, these are the lessons that I think can really help us. And I do think that as immigrants, we have a little bit of an advantage in some things, not in everything, but in some things. So one of them is like when you came from Ghana and then Canada and then here, we start comparing things. Like, for example, interesting, they say it this way, but they approach it this way. In my family, we would have done it this way. What happens is we start finding opportunity. This is the land of opportunity because of immigrants, because we see opportunity. Yes.
That's why we come, right?
Yeah, we come because there's opportunity.
We don't come to sit and get welfare like they think.
Yeah.
We come to work.
They come to work. And there is a lot of people who don't come. Let's just put it out there. I think the views like, there's all these immigrants coming. Well, there's a lot of people who don't come. And just think about it. Just the bravery and the courage that it takes for anyone. And I don't care if you came in a first-class ticket or if you came crossing the Arizona desert. It takes a lot of bravery to say, I want to leave my life behind I'm going to just start a whole new life. I'm starting anew. Well, the type of individuals then that are here, this melting pot that we call about, are very risk averse in a way, because at least we have that in common, right? Yes. And that makes us so much more visionaries and optimistic. And right, we kind of have to be optimists. If you didn't come because you think we're gonna have it worse, you would not come. That's just you came because you believe you were gonna do something great. So you are a little bit of an optimist in your heart. So that makes us very, very powerful. And I
never thought of it that way. I always say that we work harder because we came from nothing. But I never thought of the bravery part. Like I said, I see those guys crossing the borders, and I know that they're brave. They're coming here to work for their families, and they're willing to risk sometimes their lives to do it.
Right. Yes, it is. And although I agree with you wholeheartedly, lots of them come from nothing. There's lots of immigrants that did not come from nothing, but they still thought they could do better. So. Yes. And actually, in a way, it's like, I'm not leaving anything behind, and they come in, there's one thing, but there's the people who actually had something that said, look, and I'll tell you this, as I leave this person seeking asylum, they're leaving their houses, their cars, their businesses, their family, they're leaving something because they believe it would be better, safer, greater, more happiness here. And so I have incredible respect for immigrants, and I think that one of the things that we encounter a lot of challenges. We're told, I have a thick accent, and just I'm sure you guys are surprised that I have a thick accent. But I have a thick accent, and I have this, and I have that, and we are told so quickly, right, because of our accent, our names, color of our skin, where we come from. No, you can't. Your gender. No, you can't. No, you cannot. You cannot be the lady boss. You're not gonna be a CEO of this big company. What are you talking about? Like, you're wrong. You start to just fill you up. I just go forward, and I think that's kind of what it is. So
yes, I absolutely love it. Yes, an immigration book that's also personal development. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So listen. So as we wrap up, where can listeners go to find, reliable information on immigration law? I know you've got your book. You give me your website in a minute. I'm sure you've got some stuff on there. But where else can people go? Because we touched on a lot of things that you can go a lot deeper on.
Right. So the advice is twofold. One is, of course, you gotta go. Please look at Department of Homeland Security or look at USCIS websites. Go to the horse's mouth, if you will. That's it. There is so much misinformation all over the place about this. It's a complicated system.
Yes.
But they took it and made it so much more complicated than we need to, and with misinformation. And I think, just like I explained to you, there's 4 chapters. If we try to keep it simple, it's actually things that we can go, oh, I get it. I understand. The law has to make sense. There has to be a logic behind. And I think that we get lost on that. So please go to the source, and then just be careful with the media and other places, because now, as you mentioned, our website, we try to curate it as much and say, this is what it is. The second piece, and I think it's the important piece, is like, please do talk to a professional. Do talk to a professional. I talk about a little bit about this in the book. The whole thing, it didn't happen to me until I started talking to a coach. It didn't start happening to me until and the coach told me, you know what, you need to go talk to a therapist. And I went to a therapist, and I talk about all that process. Talking to a professional is one of the most mature things we can do in our life. And we come from a culture that, it's like, my tooth hurts, I'm gonna medicate myself, right? Because I had right, we gotta do that a little bit. I think you do need to talk to a professional, vet professionals, seek second opinions, even if it's mine. Please do it. Just go to a second opinion if you need to, because it's important to get that. And I think find a lawyer, find what it is, and then we'll just.
Okay, that's amazing. All right. So what is your website? Also, what is your email address? Because I'm going to have, people are going to want to reach out to you. So anybody who's listening to this episode probably has some immigration questions or issues. So
correct.
What's your website?
It's Quiroga, so it's Quiroga, lawoffice.com.
All right. And your email?
It's Hector at KirogaLawOffice.com. So if there are no questions, what likely what's going to happen, I'm gonna forward it to my staff so they can, schedule a consultation and do that. Because sometimes there's no quick question. Hey, I really quick want to know if I qualify for an H-1B visa. Look, we gotta talk about all our stuff to figure out, and then figure out all the chapters, right? Because sometimes individuals come with chapter 1, and turns out chapter 3 helps them, and so we gotta do that. But yes, but we love to hear from people. We love to help as many people. We just go that way.
And what's your handle on social media?
So so I'm at Quiroga Law, so QUIROGA Law, or my preferred one is at Abogado Quiroga. That's ABOGADO, Abogado. That's attorney in Spanish. Quiroga, which is my last name, and I mean all from TikTok, Snapchat, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. We manage them.
Okay, awesome. All right, wow, this has been a great interview, Hector, and it's really interesting that we almost have the same path. We came here at the same time, and we work hard, and now have. I'm proud of the fact you have successful businesses. 24 years.
Yes, yeah.
So yes, taught yourself English, have a business, and now you're helping others. So I started, after I went through my immigration story, I wrote a book and I started helping people to do their applications for the green card, because I did all of mine without an attorney because I couldn't afford one. But I learned the law and did it all myself. But yes, I mean, if you have any kind of different situation, you definitely need an attorney. If it's not cut and dried, your parents are sponsoring you and you're under 21, right? You can probably learn how to do it yourself. But, I did mine as, a spouse. My spouse sponsored me, so it was a little easy. But yeah, having an attorney like Hector is fantastic. So I definitely recommend that you talk to him, and I'm going to reach out to him too about my situation, about my son. So you've got a client.
Yes. I love to talk to you. So if any we'll talk.
Yes. All right, guys. So listen, I enjoyed this conversation. It was a very informative conversation, which is what I try to do here. Today, we're talking about immigration law and how you can get your family in the United States, whether you're seeking asylum, whether you are any one of those chapters. We even talked about diplomats and all the different ways that you can come into the U.S. So I will have a transcript of my conversation with Hector on the show page, because I'm pretty sure you missed some things. He talked about his deep accent. So yeah, you might have missed things weird.
Yes.
I'm going to have a transcript of the conversation, and of course, link out to his book, his website, his social media handles, so you can reach out directly with any questions that you might have. So the show page is myhelps.us. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're in this space, would love for you to, maybe share your story, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to the channel, because I bring quality guests like Hector every week. If you're watching on iTunes, would love for you to subscribe to the podcast and also leave a rating. So Hector, as we wrap up, any last words?
No, I just want to tell everybody, listen, you're listening up, you're down, prove them wrong, go do it. Just go do it. I love it from everybody. Yes. Thank you so much.
And prove them wrong. I love that.
All right. Prove them wrong. Go do it.
You can do it.
Yes.
It's amazing. I love that. All right, guys. Thanks, Hector. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life with Coach Myrna and Hector Quiroga. Until next time, namaste.